Try to imagine all life as you know it stopping instantaneously and every molecule in your body exploding at the speed of light.
Total protonic reversal.
Protonic reversal.
Protonic reversal with your host, Conan Neutron. Broadcasting from a secret underground lair in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
A gigantic middle finger to everything that is rotten about music, rock and roll, and corporate power.
The thing is, though, if you don't laugh, you're going to go on a killing spree with sharpened nails.
Confidence of a hero or a fool. I wasn't exactly certain which.
Could not be more professional.
It means something. It means something. You know, that's my take. What's yours?
Protonic reversal.
That's like a science thing, right?
Indeed. This thing is a science place. It is a scientific fact. We're all up in your face. It is time once again for the one, the only Protonic reversal. Welcome to it. Coming in a little hazier today for some reason. I'm not entirely certain why, but that's okay. We roll with it. Protonic reversal, home of the Protonic reversal. We got a special guest for you today. They're always special. We got Lori from Acid King. Very excited to talk to her about her new record and all things Acid King, etc., ad infinitum. If you came up in the Bay Area, as I did, you know them very well. A staunch band, very consistent, very awesome, and yeah, they're a banger. So that's very exciting. Before we do that, though, welcome to Conan Neutron's Protonic Reversal. I am your host, Conan Neutron. I'm a rock and roll lifer who has toured and recorded for over 23 years, most known for the band Conan Neutron, The Secret Friends. Music is a huge part of my life, and I use the format of this very long-running podcast to talk about music with musicians whose work I enjoy and respect. This is episode 324. Is your first time to know all available reversal, no ads, no sponsors, no kidding. But if you'd like the show to support the show and get episodes sooner, you can give $1 a month at patreon.com/Protonic reversal to get episodes sooner. Additionally, if you do like the show, please feel free to like, subscribe, post a review. All that helps us beat back the almighty algorithm, and it's just a darn nice thing to do. So let's get here. Let's bring in the hour. Let's bring in Lori. Lori, welcome to the show. How are you?
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm doing all right.
You got a great record, Beyond Vision. This is Blues Funeral Recordings. It's been a little bit since I've heard from Acid King personally, but it doth bang, as the kids say. I don't know if the kids say or not, but it doth bang nonetheless. How long of a process was this for you? Because this is the first one in it's been a while, 8 years, right?
Yeah, well, that's normal in Acid King record writing. You know, we don't have that many records. If you look at the catalog and you add up the amount of releases and the amount of years a band's been together, it doesn't quite add up, right? So they just kind of come out when they come out. You know, so in theory, it really didn't take that long for this record to be written in Acid King years. It started the process. Let me go back. Let me go back in time. The process started, I want to say, end of 2019, early 2020. That's when when Blues Funeral reached out to me. They've been reaching out to me for a while, probably since 2018, asking me about this project. And I was busy and I was on tour, and Acid King takes 10 years to write a record. And I was like, I don't think I could do it. And then circumstances, came up, and I was like, I think now's a really good time to actually do this. And so that's kind of how it all happened, right at the end of 2019, early 2020. And at that time, that's when I reached out to Jason Landrian, a member of Black Cobra and friend of mine for a long time. to see if he'd be interested in collaborating with me on this project. And he said yes. And from that point on, we spent and then of course the pandemic hit. So 2020, we wrote the entire record. 2021, we recorded it. 2021, yeah. 2022, the entire year was, trying to get, the label trying to get their vinyl pressed because there was such a backup at the studio, and out it came in 2023. So 1 year of it being done.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, and for pandemic time, that's actually pretty impressive, considering how long everything seemed to be taking for a long time.
Yeah, totally.
Little bit more of would it be fair, Laura, do you think, to say this is a little more of a psychedelic sort of record than previous affairs? It still sounds very much you guys, but
I definitely would say yes. Originally, when this project, came to us, I basically Blues Funeral said I could do 45 minutes of whatever I wanted to do. So in my mind, I was going to do, I don't know what I was going to do, my alter ego band, some experimental. I was always into synthesizers and sound effects, and I thought, well, this is a good time to experiment more with that.
right.
And so, it's definitely like it's Acid King, but it definitely is a leap from the last record. As far as adding a lot more sound synthesizer. This is more of a soundtrack record. It was meant to be something to listen to from beginning to end, not particularly picking a song out and saying, oh, this song's cool. It's like it's really meant to be listened to from beginning to end.
Yeah, that's definitely the vibe I got off of it. I mean, obviously the usage of synthesizers and keyboards was immediately apparent, but like it works very well as a front to back listening experience, kind of put all together, which is kind of, I don't know if it's a dying art necessarily, but it seems like the world of streaming has basically tried to force everyone to go a la carte for everything. Did that ever come into mind, or were you just kind of fully forced?
No, this is my idea. This is what I had in mind, and this is what I was going to do. And I just like Ronnie James Dio, I do what I want to do, and I don't write records for not that I don't see. I'm not writing records for the people, but if the trend is to cherry pick your songs and get one or the other, that's I'm not going to be like, that's what I need to do. I'm going to do whatever I want to do. That's what I wanted to do.
As an aside, did you see that Dio documentary that came out?
I did. Oh yes, I did.
I found it very well done, but also just very inspiring as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Like, talk about someone that just was like, this is what I do, and I'm gonna do it.
And I don't care if I have no money. I'd rather have no money than play this top hit that I don't want to play. Yeah, just to make money.
It's really remarkable. I even learned a few things too, like specifically like the Rainbow Era and stuff, where I was like, oh, I don't know any of that. That's crazy.
Oh, totally. It's a Rainbow, Dio, Elf, Black Sabbath, and on education. So kids, check out that Dio video. Yeah,
it's very good. Yeah. So I think that this is. Well, it's so when people say something's a heavy record, right? Like, it's like, oh, well, of course it's heavy, like, it's heavy riffs, but it's also like the subject matter kind of seems, it seems to me like it's about life to a certain degree, and the trials and tribulations that being like a caring, thinking, empathetic, creative person in this day and age.
It is. It really is. It was, I had this idea in mind for a concept record with no beginning, no end. And then the concept was to be on a journey. And the journey is your journey. I'm not, it wasn't written to tell people like, this is the journey you should go on, because obviously you all have your own. But it does follow that pattern from a, takeoff to a landing, and the turbulence in between, and the leveling off, at 35,000 feet. And, as the pandemic hit and as we were stuck in our practice place, just the two of us, because only two people could go at once, you start like talking about life and having big philosophical conversations and, getting into deeper levels of life and touring and just everything that goes on. And so, that's how the record ended up to be, kind of like, what's your journey? This was our journey, writing the record and thinking about it in that way, just like, for example, a band taking off on tour, you're excited, you can't wait, you're in the van, you're ready to go, and then you're off and running. And then it's almost like you have this vision of what you think your vacation, your tour, whatever is going to be, but it may not actually end up being that by the time you get back. And if anybody's in a band, especially a touring band, you know what I'm talking about. And in between all of those things that happen, right? Personal differences, breakdown, you name it, throw it in there.
The cat show.
Yeah. And then when you come back, when you land, sometimes you have a whole different outlook on life. Sometimes you're just kind of like, it's always interesting to me. So to me, that's what the record's about. But like I said, it's for the listener to go on their own journey and take them wherever it takes them in their life.
Well, and I think that comes across, and I feel it's interesting that I think that there's like there's like Turn the Page by Bob Seger and things along those lines, right? But there's very few artists that like really kind of deal with that reality and deal with it in such a way that like make it part of the art, because obviously it's going to be a part of your life if it's something that if you like to play and you want to go out and play, but then things still happen at home and and you'll miss those things and like you'll be at sea. And it strikes me that my theory is that the movie Almost Famous kind of poisoned what everyone's ideas of bands are for a generation or two. As much as I enjoy the idea of like there could be a band where it's like, no, they're very successful, they do exactly what they want to do and people want to hear it, like rather than being like, oh, well, I haven't heard of them, so therefore that doesn't mean anything. But then so like the idea of like, well, you're devoting your life to this thing that doesn't matter. No, it does matter, it absolutely matters, but it's still a harsh toke when you, so to speak, when you get back sometimes, because life has gone on without you. So it occurs to me. And so I think it's a really interesting motif, and to tie it into the larger things of literally just like the hazards of living with everyone. Not blow past, everyone knows it, but it's a pandemic, huge change of pace for a lot of folks, and then supply chain and just like you getting back to the idea of doing it's like, well, how bad do you want this? How bad do you want it? And I think your record is a good job of being like, oh shit, Acid King wants it. Okay. that's and it makes for a good listening, which is also nice too.
Well, thank you. Well, it just, everything just ended up working out like that way. Like I said, I got asked to do it years ago. I didn't have the time. I didn't think I could pull it off. And then when the world stopped, actually, it was even before then, like I mentioned, but then it gave me the total opportunity just to focus on that and have nothing else to do, literally, because of the pandemic. Yeah, so it was just like, it was great. I mean, it really was pretty awesome. I don't think that, we hope that will never happen again. But at the same time, I'm kind of miss the pandemic a little bit.
At least you got a record out of it, right? I mean, it's a great
I miss
record.
you, pandemic. I miss my puzzles. Yeah, totally.
But do you think like, and again, you Acid King's always been a very methodical band. Like, you don't put out records like, super. It's not like I guess the other extreme would be like Guided by Voices or whatever Robert Pollard is doing, where like, you sneeze and a new record comes out.
Right, totally.
But you're super methodical about it. What is the writing process like for you? Is it something that it happens, relatively quickly, but then you like decide what you want to keep and what you want to throw out, or is it just like more orchestrated?
It really depends. This was a totally different writing experience because I had a co-writer, which I don't usually. Jason and I never wrote a record together at all. And furthermore, we never wrote a record together with other people that weren't in our band. So it was a whole new experience. And then on top of that, we wrote synthesizer parts and keyboard parts that neither of us had. He'd never even touched GarageBand. I didn't even know where to begin. So, we both like dove into turf that wasn't even in our, normal area. So there was that. But in general, how Acid King had been writing songs was, I'd come up with riffs, guitar, I'd just jam out. I'd have a bunch of different ideas. And then I'd play them with the band. It was very, and then the bass player would come up with something like, oh, that sounds cool. And then we'd we record it, and then we'd just kind of work on it every time we went to practice, and it would progress from there, and then arrange it. And then usually at the end, I'd write the words. The words never came to the end. So it was pretty much a band, team effort. I'm not the kind of writer that comes in with my entirely written song that I've done all by myself in my apartment. And then I'm like, here's my song. You guys play it now. Like, I don't write that way. It's very,
which I think is easier now than ever. It's easier to do like with the rise of home recording, but it's a different sort of thing, a different kind of animal.
Right. It just depends on what, on how you like to do it, but for me, yeah. I like to collaborate. I like to work with people. So when Jason and I got together, we did, again, I had the theme. I already kind of knew what I wanted to do. And then we just started going at it, and I came up with most of the riffs, and then he helped, come up with parts. And so collaboratively, we came up with a lot more, I think, in advance than previous Acid King records, where by the time the bass player and the drum, were like, this is, we already had, a good chunk of it.
The foundation of the house is
exactly there. It was more there than usual. It wasn't so much of a Grateful Dead jam. Like, here's my one riff. Let's play it for like 2 hours, and maybe we'll think of a cool second riff. While we're doing this,
which is what people that are unfamiliar with the band's music but familiar with the band's name might assume that it is necessarily. Yeah. Can you just say, as someone that worked at a record store in Berkeley as a punk rocker and would constantly get pulled aside by wearing a Scratch Acid t-shirt, and I was like, oh, I should never wear this t-shirt again because I just don't want to talk to these hippies. Has that happened a lot over the years that people just assume they know that like it's because again, this is probably your most psychedelic record, but that's not necessarily like what Acid King has done. You've been like a heavy rock band. Like when you say psychedelic, it would be like, oh, like Deep Purple is psychedelic.
Yeah, well, I think there's more ambiance, atmosphere, I guess you would say. I definitely had space echo. I've definitely had sound effects in previous records. Yeah. Like Middle of Nowhere, Center of Everywhere was probably like a little step in that direction, but then it went to a giant leap. There wasn't like increments of change. But yes, it definitely, there's a lot more pedals. A pedal board now needs to be purchased. I mean, definitely it's gone into other territories that hadn't gone into the past. So it is, this record did take a step in more atmospheric sounds and not just straight on, chords.
The raucous, yeah. I mean, I remember I seen it must have been, I don't know, 10 years ago or something along those lines, and you had like the Little Big Muff, and that was about the sum totality of like the pedal situation that you had.
Little Big Muff and a tuner. I still have it.
And a tuner, yeah.
Don't worry, people. I still have it.
Yeah, it still works. Still works, folks. But it was almost like a more stripped down aesthetic, especially like I feel like there's been like this pedal revolution of like independent pedal makers and stuff like that. I feel like everyone's got
there's so many. Yeah, there's so many. It's too
and
many.
Then it's too much almost. Yeah. But I also like that you talked about like working with GarageBand for like the amounts of synths there, because the amount of like soft synths that like, and I'm sure you remember that like it used to be like, oh, if you wanted a cool synthesizer, it's like, well, good luck, you better have a rich friend or something because you're never going to be able to afford one. Yeah. And then it's like, oh no, you've got like you got like Moogs and you got Buklas and like whatever, and like they call it something to avoid copyright infringement, but you can put it on your record.
And it's true. And the funny thing is when we started to do this, we kept saying to ourselves, oh, well, we'll do this in GarageBand for now, and then we'll do it for real. We said that, I don't know how many times. We're going to do it for real. Like GarageBand was just like a little like thing, just kind of like a demoing tool.
It's good for what it is.
Yeah, exactly. We're just going to use it to help us write these, and then we'll do it for real deal. And then, of course, at the end of the day, we're like, this sounds freaking awesome. Like, what do we? And Bryce did play some real synthesizer on Beyond Vision, so there was, and there was definitely some enhancements in the mixing process, but pretty much it's GarageBand, GarageBand plugins, and we had to just like come to terms, be okay with the fact that it sounds good, and we didn't need to change it. There wasn't any reason to change it except for like trying to, tell people that we used a real synthesizer, not GarageBand. Like,
right.
You know what I mean? So it just was
right.
like,
we use all real synth. Okay, well, good for you. Yeah.
Not that I'm plugging GarageBand.
It sounds good. It sounds.
I'm not. Yeah, I'm not a spokesperson for GarageBand. But I'm just saying it did the trick.
It went from like fun demo toy to being like, no, this is serious business over the course of a few years.
Yeah. It's just like, it sounds good. Like, why recreate it? Why try to recreate it?
Yeah, and I think that it's good that technology can be used for not just total BS.
I agree. Age, right? Well, it's come a lot far. it's come a lot farther. You know what I mean, for sure. So it definitely sounds so much better than it used to, and there's so many more bells and whistles. So,
when you think about the catalog of Acid King, how prone are you to like bust loose like the older songs and things along those lines? Or are you exclusively focused on the new stuff?
Right now, focused on the new stuff. You'll hear most of the songs from that record coming up, but you'll hear the greatest hits, the songs that people like to hear, that people want to hear. So it just depends. Am I going far back? Far back? No. I don't think I've played a song off of the first 10-inch or the first full length. I don't know. I don't even know if I know how to play them anymore.
You have to like look at the YouTube tutorial to play your own song.
I'd have to call the Acid King cover band like Kiss did or whatever to like help me relearn my old song. So no, I haven't played those in a long time. It would be weird to play those. Never say never. Who knows, right? It's my 30th anniversary. So who knows? Who knows what may come out of the crawl space or the whatever, but probably right, or we say the riff crypt.
That's the box name right there. That's the box name. Riff crypt.
Yeah. They may come back from the day. You never know. But yeah, there's definitely going to be some older songs thrown in there, that people like to hear, because I get it. You go to see a show, when you go see any classic rock band, you're pissed if ZZ Top doesn't sing like Beer Drinkers and Hellray, like you want your money back. You're like, I get it. Like not everybody wants to hear all of your new songs, but then again, as a creative person in any band, you don't want to play those old songs, and you start to feel like you're in a cover band. Like I don't want to play those same songs over and over and over again for 30 years. I needed to move on myself.
Right. And then you could always come back to them. And maybe you'll find something, later on that you'll be like, oh yeah, I remember why I like this.
Well, yeah, you mix up the catalog, and you play a little bit of something on it from everything. But it's really nice to have something new to play. Yeah.
How did Jason's drumming factor into the songwriting process? I think he's a very unique drummer. He's got a very, very unique style, but he's also can chameleon a little bit, and he's different.
He is different. I mean, Joey's drumming was definitely completely different than Jason Willer's, or totally different people, obviously. So he came in very late in the process. We'd already written almost every song. And there was only 2 songs that didn't even, or maybe just one song that had no drums on it at all. The drummer in the band at the time left like 3/4 into the writing process of this record. We were very close to like, recording. This was in, I think, September of 21. And so we were like, okay, we planned on recording in January of 22, and we had to find a drummer. So, we were like, who can we get? We started thinking about it. And Bryce Shelton, who, plays the bass on this record, knew a few people, and he thought of Jason because he'd played with Jason. They both traveled together on a Hawkwind tour in the mid 2000s. And he thought, so he thought he would be a really good fit for this record. And I was like, sounds good. I didn't know who he was. I mean, I've seen his band before, but I didn't know who I didn't know him personally. And he bumped into him at a bar that weekend and talked to him. And he was like, I'm in, I'll do it. So within 2 weeks of the drummer leaving, we had another drummer. He like learned all the songs just from the demos we sent and came into the studio. And it was like, so awesome. It's like, he already felt like, he had put so much work into it that previous on his own, by the time he showed up just to even practice with us, it was like, wow. And then, then with the songs that didn't have any drums, he put his own, take on it, obviously. And I feel so lucky because he's such an amazing drummer, nice person,
versatile.
And a drum teacher on top of it. So the Acid King gods are looking down on me. Thank you. I don't believe in that stuff, but the rock gods they're on my side. So he came in
and Dio was looking down on you, although maybe he wasn't looking down yet.
Yeah, totally. In advance. So
he was thinking ahead.
Yeah, and I appreciate that on his behalf. That he came in, he learned the songs, he'd written, Beyond Vision didn't have any drums, it wasn't even done yet. That's all him. The last song, Color Trails, he put his own personal touch on everything, obviously. But it is different than all previous Acid King records as far as the drumming goes. But it's so awesome. It fits perfectly, with the record. So.
Well, it's a different feel as a record, so it makes sense.
Exactly.
To have,
it totally.
different drums.
Yeah.
Is that without getting into it? I mean, you played with Joey for a long time. Is that
20 years? Yeah.
Okay?
We're yeah. That's a long time to be in a band with somebody. 20 years. I know people always say, "Oh my God, how can you still call your band Acid King? You don't have, I'm the Acid King. There isn't, And I'm like, it's like Joey or someone alluded to like Spinal Tap, or I must be like Yngwie Malmsteen and be like a horrible person because nobody wants to stay on my band. I'm like, Joey was in the band for 20 years. 20 years, a long time.
2 decades.
It's not like I had a new drummer a year. So, we're still good friends. I see him all the time. And he plays in 2 local bands. Here in town. So yes, good friend.
I mean, it seems like that's a really good run. Like, and even though you talk about Acid King not being exactly like super prolific, I mean, there's still a good amount of recordings.
There definitely is. But just every band member that leaves has various different reasons. And, for Joey, he just, he was in it for a long time. And, it's just like a relationship. Sometimes you just, grow apart and do different things. Sometimes somebody really doesn't like you and they don't want to play with you anymore, so, right. Go on a tour with somebody. Sit in a van with go away for somebody for 1 month where you're with that person 24 hours a day. and you're tired because you haven't slept and you're hungover. And, let me know how that goes if you're, and if you're still friends when you get home.
That's the key. Well, and look, you can have the best player in the world, right? But if you can't stand to be in a van with them and you intend to tour,
100% for me. Yeah, it's true. It's hard. It's hard. Being in a band is hard. It's not like, you think. There's so many factors into it. So, yeah.
Did you? And you did this with Billy, right? This is Billy Anderson engineered this, if I remember correctly, right?
Yeah.
I remember this right.
Yeah.
He's all right.
He's okay. He's okay.
He's getting good.
Yeah. He's recorded every single Acid King record besides the very first one, and then Millenor Center of Everywhere. We had another engineer for a few of the songs, and then Billy finished out and mixed the rest. So I have just worked with Billy obviously my whole career pretty much, and I love him so much. Not only is he just a great engineer, but just a funny, nice, the hardest working person ever. I mean, good Lord, he just puts his heart and soul into it, and the hours it takes for bands like ours with not a lot of money, where you're pretty much in the studio as long as you can. You're like 12 hours, 13, you can't even stand anymore, because you're paying for studio time and you've got to get it done, and you just don't have the luxury of going 8 hours a day for 2 weeks, I don't, so you've got to cram it all in, and that means 16-hour days for 1 week. And if there's somebody you want to do that with, it's him. He's just amazing.
The great example of that is Metallica on that one record, where they were had the place in the Presidio for forever, and then after all that, and they made that documentary, which is amazing, and
I worked on that documentary.
I love it. I love it so much. Yeah, it's perfect. But then also that's the snare sound? You came up with that snare sound, and you're like, that's the one? Okay. Really?
Yeah. So they basically spent a year recording that, right, in the studio every day, just with a Pro Tool screen, the size of a, movie theater, dissecting every little solitary thing. It was definitely not the way Acid King works. No.
No, well, I mean, but also they're a cottage industry, right? They're when you're a band that's that big, everything's going to be under the microscope no matter what. And again, being a band for that long too, and being in this extended multiple series of relationships that have these crazy power dynamics that have evolved over time,
Well, when you're making that kind of money, you're forced to, stay together, right? I mean, you're gonna make it work when there's a whatever money amount is there, right? You're gonna be like, oh, okay, I guess
stand together for the kids.
Exactly. I guess we can all take separate tour buses, and we don't have to talk to each other unless we're practicing or when we show up for the stage show or whatever.
But it's by the same token, again, when you don't have the luxury of having just basically unlimited time, it's you have to decide what you want, and you have to not dither.
And I think that partnering up with someone like Billy, for me at least, or whoever your Billy is, is key. Because when you don't have a lot of time and money, you need to have that partner in crime that knows you, that knows what you want, that knows how to help. I mean, he's not just an engineer, but he's a producer. He has ideas, or I might have an idea, but I don't know how to articulate. I'm like, I think I want this. And then he's like this. And I'm like, yes, he's so fast and knows. And that's what you need. You need to have your person. And it's such a key thing for recording. It's not just you showing up and playing. That's just the skeleton of the whole song,
That's exactly it. And then if you have someone that truly understands what you're trying to do as well, then it's not just value added. It's like the sheetrock for the house.
Absolutely. So yeah.
I wonder. So, Laura, I want to kind of go through. I want to go through the new record and go through song by song. But what I realize is that because I have, God, a lot of the Ass King stuff I have on vinyl, CD. I still have CDs.
So do I.
I think it might be interesting to kind of go through each of the records, and if you could tell me a little something about each of the records, maybe any memories of recording them or things along those lines. Doesn't need to be like a soliloquy or like a novella or something, but
okay,
for the fans, and for me, also a fan. So, which means we'd be going back to what, 95, right? So that would be
94, actually. 90. Well. We recorded the very first record in 93. It didn't officially come out till 94, but the very first 10-inch on Sympathy for the Record Industry.
That I remember when it came out because that was the month I had moved to the Bay Area from the Central Valley. I'm from Modesto originally, much to my eternal chagrin. And it was a big deal. People were like, "Oh, Acid King," and I was like, "What? What is that? What is that? What is Acid King?" And then like I saw y'all play around that time, so that was like I guess that's how much of an old head I am for that. But
obviously I am too. That was before anybody even knew what this music was. It was like, where does it fit in? There was Sleep. There just wasn't. There was the term stoner rock wasn't even a term yet. Nobody really knew what to do. With us,
but Long Gone John was like, I feel like he was a champion for.
He was like the guy that like put out your record if you were like the outlier, the person that didn't have a genre to fit into. You're not punk rock. You're not really rock. Sure. You're not really metal. You're just kind of like this other thing, that we don't know exactly. That's what he did.
And obviously that worked out well for the White Stripes. But but there was a bunch of other freaks, nerds, and weirdos on there as well. And so was it Zoroaster is the first record, right? So that was
the first vinyl. First full length. That's what I meant to say.
Because you had the EP before that, and there was like there
was the first one that has 4 songs, and then this was the first full length that was also on Sympathy. God, we recorded that in Oakland. That record, I'm trying to think of what I can say about that record. When I listen to it now, it seems so outdated to me. It seems so dated. I don't know.
Right. Maybe pictures, sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you look, even the first, if you listen to, you can see the progression of how Acid King has come along from the beginning to end if you follow all the records. But that definitely, even my voice has changed so much. I think I used to sing like Joan Jett, like from my throat, and I don't sing like that anymore. So it's really interesting listening. I don't think I've listened to that record in a while, to be honest. It's been a while.
Yeah. And that's Peter Lucas was still in the band at that point.
Yeah, Peter Lucas was on the first 2 records. Yep. And I think my fondest memory of that was we recorded this song called Vertigate, and I had a Triumph trophy. I still have a Triumph trophy, 500, and we recorded the startup of the motorcycle. So we just took the gear outside while I started up my motorcycle and made Billy record, the startup of my motorcycle to have the start of one of the songs, and I rode away. And then he recorded that, and that's on the record.
Right. So. and the thing you got to remember too is that this is before like that was it Sons of Anarchy or any of that stuff. Like it wasn't like biker culture streamed as it is now. Like there's just that wasn't a thing. That's to give some context. But yeah, that's great. And you got the and that's the one you got 2 versions of that too, right? You got the Vertigate 1 and 2. You got the one that closes it out. Well,
exactly, the bookends. Yeah, so that was fun. That was a lot of fun. Yeah, I need to listen to that record, and I need to revisit that.
I still got it on CD somewhere behind me. I haven't seen it in a while.
Yeah, well, it was only out on CD. It was never out on vinyl.
Okay. Well, then I don't feel bad about that. Okay, very good, very good. So you have the EP, the Down with the Crown EP was after that, right? That was on 10-inch.
Yep, that's when Man's Ruined started coming in and kind of finding a home for all of us bands that were, a little homeless. Yeah, he created a little genre there and put that out. And Dan Southwick was on that record.
Yep.
Teen Dusthead, and which I love. I love that song.
Yeah, that's a great one. I saw. In fact, I think I saw y'all. I think it was an Altamont Acid King show in San Jose, maybe.
Oh my God! So yeah, that's in the it's got to be in the mid '90s.
Yeah. It was, and I was there and I loved it, but it was like one of those things where it was like, where am I? What's happening right now? Like I had not done these shows at all at that point. So, and that's the one's got a very evocative cover, right? It's
now that's not me. That's not me. Everybody thinks it's me, but it's not. It's just actually a model. I guess Frank had did that cover for another band, and it was a model that he hired. And it basically is like there's a Jimi Hendrix poster that he's like playing the guitar. And so the woman is like, it's probably, people don't probably know that, but I had that poster, and that's why I looked at the poster and I was like, oh, that's the Jimi Hendrix poster.
It's the same font. I mean, it's like the Jimi Hendrix Experience or whatever font, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the band, and I can't remember who the band was that didn't want it, but they didn't want that cover. And he asked me if I wanted it. I'm like, if I can take it, I'll take that cover. I thought it was cool.
Yeah, it was cool. Why not? Yeah.
Yeah. So that's how it came about. And if you have the 10-inch and you open it up, or is it the CD? I'm blanking now. It's been so while. There's like the 7-Eleven nacho cheese dip picture. Like a bean bag. I don't know. There's like random stuff in there.
I feel like that was a mid to late 90s thing, big time. That was just like, I don't know, we need something to throw in here. Let's throw in something. Sure,
yeah,
it works. Yeah. That looks. I don't know what that. If you're moved in really close on it, you can't tell what it is. What is this? Okay, you can write your own crossword puzzle for that. And then that was right before. It was a couple years later. How do you say it? Is it Busse?
Busse Woods.
Busse Woods. Okay.
Yeah.
Totally. I've literally never heard the record name said aloud. And at the time I worked at a record store, but I thankfully never had to say it.
Yeah, that's the way it's pronounced. I don't know why. I didn't make it up. That is woods that I used to hang out at because I'm from the suburbs of Illinois. I grew up in Illinois. I didn't move here until the 90s. And it was like a teenage hangout. Everybody had their own Busse Woods, wherever you called your Busse Woods. When, this is old.
Get away from the parents.
This is old people talk now, kids. Like, because our video games are, going to a place to play, Space Invaders. And Pac-Man or whatever.
You had to go to a place, kids.
Yeah, you had to go to a place. Like, it wasn't at your house unless you were rich and your parents bought you a Pong that you somehow put on your TV, and I don't even know how that worked.
Right.
Yeah, so we had to get away from our parents somehow on that, right? And that's what we did. We went to different parks in the suburbs, and that was one of them. And Busse Woods was very notorious because it was like the drugs. I can't believe this even existed because it obviously could not exist now, but it was just like a dazed. My life was like Dazed and Confused movie.
Like Dazed and Confused, totally, yeah.
Minus the paddling and the Texas stuff, whatever, mustard and ketchup on the cheerleaders, but everything else, cruising, the kegger, like all of that stuff was like the teen center, foosball, you name it. That was my life. So yeah, we hung out at Busse Woods, and like people had their trunks open. They were selling drugs, playing Black Sabbath. It was a trip. And so we'd always just go there and hang out and play Frisbee and get stoned and buy illegal drugs and,
Exactly. Like you do.
Yeah. So that whole record was based on that.
Which is sort of like a formative experience for rockers of a certain age, to be sure. That maybe sounds like an anachronism now, but yeah, it's dark, heavy record. You got a few covers on there. There's Motorhead. Motorhead.
That was an extra song that's on the CD. That's
on the CD.
Yeah, that's not part of the record.
It's not part of the record, but it was on. There was like a couple compilations and things, right?
Yeah, that was on a Hawkwind compilation, the Motorhead version of Hawkwind.
But
the Hawkwind version of Motorhead. Wait, I'm getting it.
The Hawkwind version of Motorhead, right? Yeah. Oh yeah, you're right. You're right. It was Hawkwind. Yeah, of course. Because that was pre-Motorhead. That was the song he wrote while he was still in Hawkwind, right? I remember
exactly. And 39 Lashes, because I'm like fan of Jesus Christ Superstar soundtrack.
Yes. Yeah. No, because honestly, and I kid you not, Lori, I did not know that was. I had not seen Jesus Christ Superstar at that moment in time, and so first time I heard, I was like, "Oh, it's like that Acid King song."
What?
I don't know. I just missed it. I just missed it somehow until like 99 or something. I can't.
Well, I'm glad that you saw it, because it's freaking deep.
No, I mean it's great. It's probably the best Andrew Lloyd Webber, right? But like,
yeah, I don't know. I love that little 39 Lashes. Like it was just pretty heavy to me. I was like, this song, and we needed an extra song for the record, and I was like, all right, because I'm not a covers person. I mean, I've done 3 and that's it. And I'll probably never do another one. I don't like doing covers. I'm not good at it. I don't like it. But I do like that one. That was a lot of fun to do.
So if it makes you feel better, there was at least a 6-month period where I thought Andrew Lloyd Webber was ripping you guys off.
Well, I'll probably get. Hopefully, Andrew Lloyd Webber, is he even alive or is he dead? I don't even know.
I don't know. I feel like I should know that, because I feel like there's all these movies about people like in his orbit and stuff now. He's 74. Okay, he's still alive.
Well, good. He's not that old, because when you hear somebody's dead and you're like, they're still alive.
Abe Vigoda.
I think he's still dead. Alive. Yeah. All right. Well, hopefully he's not listening to this, and I'm not going to get in trouble for
Abe Vigoda
recording his song. Yeah.
Actually, I guess Abe Vigoda did die. Oh, okay. I thought he was still alive. All right. Well, that's we regret the error. And what are we talking about? So that's that one. You got is it Acid King 3?
Well, there's Free and Down with the Crown.
There's Free, the one, the split with Clearlight, right?
Yeah, totally. So there's those two. We did Down with the Crown already. That was Dan. Free was a split, with Clearlight, and that was with Guy. Guy played on that one. And that was on Man's Ruin as well. Came out as a 10-inch.
Yeah.
And also a CD with I love the Clearlight side. It's so good. I just was listening to that the other day. I forgot how much I liked it. Yeah.
And what are the it's like folks from like Crowbar and like I Hate God and stuff, if I remember right?
Jimmy Bower, Russ Karpelman. I think the drummer's no longer with us on planet Earth. I can't remember who else was in it. But yeah, pretty much, the New Orleans crew.
They did that. They did that split with the Obsessed that has the Skinner covers around that same time. Right. Yeah.
But this is my favorite. Yeah, they're I don't think they're together anymore. But that split, their side of it is so good. Yeah, and then after that came 3, where Guy played on that as well. That came out on Small Stone, and that has a fan favorite, Two Wheel Nation. Everybody loves that. That's
a good one.
Yeah,
that's Small Stone is out of Detroit, right? If I remember correctly.
He basically once like Man's Ruin demised, had its demise. He took a lot of the bands in, that when we were like, where do we go? Where's our new home? And so he took us and, put out, Busse Woods, and then we recorded 3 on his label too. So that came after that. That was a tough record. That was one of those no monies, got to finish it. I think we were up for 23 hours, and it was horrible. Yeah. That's my memory of that record.
Yeah.
It was rough.
Maybe not the best memories, but
it was rough to get through. Yeah.
Decent record. And then I saw like a vinyl release about a year later, I think, if I remember correctly. There's a vinyl version of it. There's
a vinyl version. It's still out, actually. I'm repressing it. I have with Creation. We've repressed Free, Down with the Crown. We've repressed 3 and Busse Woods. And then when Busse Woods had a 20th anniversary, I released a special edition on Riding Easy. Which is a gatefold. Awesome. Yeah, has special artwork and pictures from those times. Yeah.
Very, very cool. Is that is it easy to kind of divorce the music from the maybe the difficult parts of creating it for that one?
Oh, for sure. Although this latest release that we just did was pretty great recording wise. It's probably the best recording experience I've had thus far. So every recording, there's a little something, it's a little can be stressful. People think recording is so awesome. Well, it is if you have endless amounts of time and money, but otherwise it can be pretty stressful. You know what I mean? Like trying to get it done. Because it takes a lot longer than you think it does. So
not for the guy from God Bad Voices apparently, but everyone else it does.
I can separate the recording pain from There
was that there was the Leafhound thing too that kind of combined the out of print at the time.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
I had that t-shirt, the one that I think it's the same as the EP, the one that's actually got the Ricky Kasso with the names and all that. I had that for you. I don't know where it is.
Leafhound. Yeah, he released that in Japan. Because you can't, and we got to go to Japan thanks to that. We actually got to tour Japan, which was awesome. So you have to have a record out on a Japanese record label. Otherwise you just can't go there. You're just not playing. You're not just touring Japan randomly. You really have to have.
Are you even a rock band? Yeah.
Yeah. That was fun.
Well, it's all the better when it was like limited supplies too, right? That's all the better that it's and also like go ahead.
I was going to say that guy just disappeared. He just disappeared. The record label guy, he just was gone.
Wow.
I don't know what happened to him. Yeah.
Witness protection program? I don't know.
Just stopped doing it. And
it's got so there's like a pretty decent chunk of time, and then it gets into middle of nowhere, center of everywhere, right?
Yeah, that record I really, really like, and it didn't really get the attention it deserved. It was put out on Svart, which is from Finland. They're very, they're not like a record label. It was more like a licensing deal. I don't do record label deals. I just do licensing deals. I never sign like on a record with a record label to own my masters and do whatever you want. I don't do that. I'm always in control of my masters and my destination. But that really got it. Just nothing happened with that. I'm hoping to re-release it, and I'm hoping that I'll get that it gets another chance out there, because it just kind of came out and we toured it and everything, but it just kind of got, I don't know, just kind of got lost. But I love that record, a lot. So
kind of a weird, like that was kind of an interesting. That wasn't like a strong time for heavy music, I feel like, either. Like I feel like there was kind of a lull for a little bit there. Maybe it was a little bit too early, a little bit too late.
Yeah, sometimes it's just like a not, and again, that it started to take a turn a little bit towards more psychedelic and less just,
Right.
oh, we're going to play heavy or just heavy and loud.
Yeah.
It wasn't, oh, we're just heavy and loud record anymore. It was like, that's not what I want to do. So maybe it didn't really have a home. Maybe it didn't know what the audience was. And it was really, social media wasn't, it was 2015 when that came out. So,
Yeah.
we just
Different
didn't
world.
have, I mean, it doesn't seem like that was that such a short time ago. But if you think about Instagram stories and Instagram, like it is like, it just didn't exist. It didn't have the reach that records, that music, Spotify didn't have. There's so many more tools now to get your band out there that didn't
Yeah.
exist. So
I
yeah,
feel like even Bandcamp was like only in its infancy, really, compared to how it is
yeah.
now. Like I feel like Bandcamp, when they started doing the Bandcamp Fridays during the pandemic, that's like kind of really when like a lot of, I don't know, I hesitate to use the word, but normies kind of like found out about it.
Mhm.
Uh, and before it was just like, oh no, this is like a way to basically like sell your stuff that you actually maybe see some of the money, which is a wow
Yeah,
concept.
I mean, I also think too, like for bands like ours that have been around for so long before the internet, before social media, before, when MySpace
Yeah.
was the only way it's such a different world out now, and so I think all the bands like ours have more popularity than they did because just so many more people out in the world can find out about it.
Yeah.
It's not like, so it's just a different world. But yeah, that record got lost in the shuffle a little bit, and I'm hoping to re-release it and give it a second life, sometime in the near future.
Yeah, that's one. Well, I'm obviously we established it's not Billy for everything, but I think Toshi tracked some stuff for you guys.
He did, yeah. Toshi, I at that point, I was like, I wanted to try somebody different. I was like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I record everything with Billy. Want to see what it's like to record with somebody else. So, Toshi, I know, and I really like, and he recorded the first half of the record. And then we weren't ready to finish the rest yet. And then I just was really feeling, and I don't know, but, if I just, maybe it was my security blanket. Like I was really missing my Billy. I was like, I really miss Billy. I miss recording with him. He just adds a lot more. And and I love Toshi. So it's not like, I mean, he was wonderful. It's just it was a different thing, just since, because Billy knows me, knows what I like, just like
Right.
we're in sync. And then I just was like, I think I want to finish the record with him. And so I finished
It's
the
like
rest of the record.
symbiosis at that point, right? Because I mean,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
you've worked together with someone for so long that like you have this like shared mind symbiosis sort of arrangement. And it's not to say that not to impugn anyone's skill, but I mean that's like look, that's years of working together. That's like a
Exactly.
working
It's years of working together that you just can't get with somebody like in a week after yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, cool record. Would be interested in seeing that kind of get a little more light maybe than it did at the time. But
Yeah,
cool
I mean,
record.
Tim Lehigh did all of the artwork, and was a cool poster in it. I mean, yeah,
Yeah,
it's a
yeah.
really they spent a lot of money, on the packaging and everything, and so yeah, I'm hoping now that this record's, when this record comes out, people will want to look at the back catalog and be like, oh, that record that I barely know about.
Yeah, maybe they can find that and they can discover it as if it's new, because that's one of the nice things, when you mentioned and rightly so, the more easy availability to get things out to people, that people discover stuff all the time, even stuff that like maybe died on the vine at the time,
Mhm.
and
Yeah,
there's,
no, totally. What's
I think
old could be new.
yeah, to them somebody's gonna hear it for the first time today,
Yeah.
that sounds awesome.
No, totally.
Uh,
There's always people that you're like, I've never heard of Acid King before, and you're like, what? How could you not have 30 years? But how many people are there in the world? So of course.
It's a busy world too. Some people will not be familiar with Andrew Lloyd Webber when they hear an Andrew Lloyd Webber cover, and that's okay.
That's true. I'm going to turn my light on
Okay,
over
so
here.
I
It's
want
getting dark. It's getting dark in here. One moment, please.
absolutely. I think so. We're talking first with Laura Master King. Oh yeah,
All right, here I am.
I want to talk. Tell me about the Roadburn set, that Roadburn live set before we talk about the new record.
Oh
because,
yeah, Roadburn. Yeah, they put out. They were putting out, live shows that they recorded at Roadburn, and they had 2 of them. We played there twice, and asked me if I wanted to do it, and so I chose one that I thought was pretty decent. It's raw. It was never meant to be put out as a record. They just recorded it at the board. I think the mic on the bass wasn't even, or the DI wasn't even that great. But, if people were expecting like some like really expensively recorded high-end record, that's not what it is. It's raw. It really feels like you're at the show. It's that kind of a live show.
Yeah, and there's a great history of that. Like I know Earthless had a lot of success with with their Roadburn set and things along those lines. That if you got a good rock band and you just look, this is a good document of these songs being played live.
Yeah,
it's
exactly. I mean, we tried to mix it the best we could, and maybe get rid of some of the things, annoying feedback or some things that the listener on a record didn't need to hear.
Right. Something to be charming in person, but less charming listening to the
exactly. Yeah. But for the most part, it's it's pretty raw, and I like it. I think it sounds, I think it totally captures the moment. So if you're a fan of that kind of stuff, you'll really like it. If you're not, then you probably won't like it.
No pound sand.
Simple as that. Simple as that. Yeah.
So and then that would, more obviously we skipped over some stuff, can't get everything, but that brings us now to Beyond Vision. So if you're into it, and I know you mentioned, the whole thing's meant to be like listened to as an experience, kind of when they kind of flowing into each other, which it very well accomplishes. But something that I've started doing on the show when someone has a new record is kind of go through each of the tracks, and if you wanted to expound about some song ideas for it, maybe where the title came from, some recording remembrances, anything along those lines, just kind of give a little bit of a context with the stuff on the record. Would that be a thing to be into?
I'll do my best. I can't say that there's like a heavy duty meaning to everything. I may have just like looked online under certain things and for song titles. It's like not everything. I'm just saying not everything has a deep meaning to it. So
right. They don't all have.
It might to you though. Might to you.
Exactly. It doesn't all have to be War and Peace, and there's no right or wrong answer. So this just to set expectations accordingly. But yeah. So all right. So let's get into it. So we're talking about Beyond Vision, of course, and the first song is One Light Second Away.
Yes. So that is like beginning of your journey, and that's how long it takes to get to the moon, 1 light second. So that's how, that's a lot of space related stuff going on with the record. As cliche as space is, and Sleep with the Astronaut in a Bong, like, I'm sorry, I love space, I've loved it forever, and nobody has nobody just has full creative license on space. I'm gonna write about it because I love it. So not taking that away
from
me.
To the guy, the only thing I wanted to be when I was a kid was an astronaut. Literally the only thing. I had no background.
You know what I'm talking about.
Didn't work out.
So when space gets trendy in music, especially our genre, it's a bummer because you're like, I love space. Now I can't love it because there's like 50 other bands that are talking about that too. But I'm like, you know what? Tough. I don't care. Doing what I want to do.
Singing about wizards, damn it. Yeah.
Exactly. Wizards and mushrooms and everything else, every other thing you can think of that has been used up already. So back to astronauts right now. Back to astronauts, circling back. Yeah, so that's, I mean, the songs are written in order. I mean, an interesting truth is that the record was written in the order that it is. Every song was written almost in the order of the record, if you know what I'm saying. So One Light Second was the first song we wrote, and then we went on to the second one, and everyone but Beyond Vision ended up, and we'll get to that when we get to that. So yeah, One Light Second's the departure to your journey.
Gotcha. So did you realize when we were writing that one, like, oh, I think this is the first one? Like, did you realize when you were writing it, or did that come later?
I think so. Yeah, I think we did. Yeah.
Next up, we have Mind's Eye.
Mind's Eye. Step into the Mind's Eye. That one, originally this record was in my mind's eye was just going to be an instrumental. I'd never planned on writing vocals for anything. I just wanted to have an instrumental record. But when we wrote the song, it was clear that it was not an instrumental. It needed to have words. I was like, this is calling for some vocals here. So I wrote those lyrics. And I honestly don't know how I came up with that idea. It was, I just was writing it down and thinking about it, because this is like where your journey, you've already departed, and now the journey's, you're slowly starting to begin that journey, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Does the title inform the words, or the other way around? Like where?
The music started. The music is always written first for me, and the lyrics last. So it's. I think the music carries it, and how I wrote the lyrics, honestly, just came to me. I don't have any prolific thing to discuss on that. I just
with your mind's eye, as it turns out. Yeah,
it came down, and I just wrote it. Yeah.
90 seconds. How about that one?
90 seconds actually has a cool story, because that's the amount of time you have in space that you can live without oxygen. So if you're
cool.
Yeah. So if you're a 2001 fan, when Frank is, out there, when Hal kicks him to the curb there, he's out in space, you only have 90 seconds to live. And that's what that song is about. But it was also very inspired, and I know some people will either love or hate this, by Yoko Ono. She has this record called Rising, and I want to say it came out in the 90s. Was it in the 90s? That with Sean Lennon, her son, they wrote it, and it's pretty metal, honestly. There's there's a total metal song on there. It's a pretty decent record for I mean, there's a lot of things I can't handle by her, don't get me wrong, but this was a really good record. I saw her live, and there's this one song she'd written. It's actually a poem. And it sounds like it has this Tibetan bowl and a clock, and it's just a poem she recites. And I always loved that. And I thought about that song. I thought about that when I wrote the song, how could I was inspired by it. So that 90 seconds is completely inspired by Yoko Ono's Will I. It's called Will I. It's a poem that she wrote on Rising.
Yeah, that's a trip, because that's the second time Yoko Ono's come up in 2 episodes.
Oh, interesting. Well, she just turned 90, right? Didn't she? Just had a birthday?
Yeah, you're right.
90. Freaking 90.
Yeah. Anytime I feel old, I was thinking about that.
Yeah, totally. I'm like, hey, I got plenty of time left.
Yeah, right? Exactly. Still plenty of time to do cool stuff. Don't worry about it. Electromagnetic.
Electromagnetic. I love that song. I don't even know how we wrote these. I mean, that song is such a trip.
It goes some places.
It does. It's I think that song, here's all my inspirations coming out. I mean, I don't know how I'm always very inspired by other bands. So if there's something I really like from another band, I'll think about that. And it's there's never any blatant ripoff. It's more of I like that tone or I like that sound. And this one I think had a little like Author and Punisher inspiration. I love the drone machine.
Cool.
I love like that rhythm thing he has when he has the hand. He's like bam.
He came on the show and he's selling those things now, like the controllers.
Oh, is he? He's making them for people.
Yeah.
Which is
I was like, I totally forget. But they're like
he's got
a
bunch of people out there with like the Author and Punisher thing. I don't know. That's funny. Those are. I mean, it's cool.
What a merch item! What a merch item that is, right?
So you're gonna lug that around on your merch table. Yeah.
Drone machines. I think they call them drone. I think they call them drone machines because of the record, right?
I mean the drone machine. Yeah, I don't know if that's it specifically or the whole thing, but anyway, that's something you probably asked him when he was on your show. Anyways, I saw him.
Yeah, and that was a while ago. I obviously don't remember.
Yeah, I saw him a long time ago before he got as popular as he is now. And he even played with us here at Acid King show. And I always thought it was just awesome. Super interesting and unique. And I always just thought and I still do. So anyways, that, a little bit of that is inspired by that particular piece of the drone machine that I love. So if you listen to it, you wouldn't think, oh, they're ripping off Author and Punisher. You wouldn't even know that.
No, I never would have thought
that. If you're not hearing me say that, because obviously I'm not Author and Punisher. But it was definitely inspired by that. Yeah, it's totally nice. Not mine. So yeah, that was a little bit of inspiration for that.
Now that you say it, I can totally, I see where it would be like your version of Author and Punisher, but I can
my
see where
version.
It would be,
well, I mean, there's just a little
makes sense because it does
have. It's the
whatever you
sample that goes through the entire song. Yeah, so the sample that goes through the entire song. Is the anchor to it, and then the song
I was thinking krautrock.
Oh,
like in a way, like how there's kind of like there'll be like an undulating kind of thing that's like kind of anyway, whatever. Doesn't matter what I was thinking.
Well, you know what? Like I have so many. Like I've been through so many different genres of music in my life that if you take the catalog in my brain, it's everything. Just there's so many different components to it because I've been at this for so long that when I write music, it just comes from whatever my whole life of music.
Yeah. Well, you're taking.
Yeah,
and it's gonna come out sounding like you because.
Right, it's not like, oh my God, I love whatever new waves or you know what I mean. Like there's just so much mixed in there. So that was definitely an inspiration, but that was just a journey writing that song. We just were kind of like, how about, when I listen to it now, I joke around. I'm like, how did we write that song? How the hell did we write that song? And the same thing with the next one, which we'll get to next.
Yeah. So that was Electromagnetic. Destination Psych is the next song.
Oh, Shadow Speed. Oh, you know what? Why? There's another one that you don't get on the general public. So there's another song that we actually wrote that you can only get on if you buy the box set. So for you vinyl junkies and you Acid King fans, super Acid King. This would be super Acid King fan, not casual Acid King fan.
Right.
These
are the real heads.
Yeah, there is. If you're just casually dating Acid King, you're probably not going to want to commit to this. But if you're ready for marriage, you might want to. There's an additional song on the subscription series that is not on the general public, which is called Shadow Speed, which you're not going to hear unless you buy it because it's not out There's no digital downloads, and you have to buy the vinyl to get to hear it.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a bold move. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, anyways, skipping that over into Destination Psych. That is so Destination Psych and Beyond Vision are really one song. That's the intro. And we decided to split it up in case somebody just wanted to hear the song on CD or digitally. And that's the only reason.
The One Sabbath song where it's like FX, I think, where it's like, oh, that's a cool trippy, and like but it's really intro to the next song, and some people are like,
exactly. So it can be weird because we gave it its own name because it's on a separate track, but it's really not. You wouldn't listen to that alone. You'd be like, this isn't a song. It's an intro to Beyond Vision.
Yeah. It's as it wouldn't in the Spotify world. It wouldn't necessarily be your big Spotify hit.
It's not. Yeah, it shouldn't be getting a lot of hits. Yeah, should.
But then you have the title track, right? You have Beyond Vision. So so tell me about that one.
That's one of the last songs we wrote, which is funny because here's the story, which is why I'm glad I told you about Shadow Speed. We had to have 45 minutes worth of music, and then we had to have an extra song that was on the subscription version that wasn't on the general public. And so we'd already had all the songs written and we're like, all right, we need one more. So I was like, okay, I came up with some ideas and we started writing it, and it became Beyond Vision, which came out to be like one of the best songs to me. You know what I mean? On the record. And that was the blow off song. That was going to be the additional song on the subscription version. Yeah. So then we were like, well, we can't, this song's too good to not have on the subscription in the general public version. So Shadow Speed, which is another instrumental, is the one that we made the decision to, be the extra song. So that song came last, and that was the song that Jason Willer, completely, wrote all the drum parts for, because there was never any drums on it at all. So we created that together. I don't know. It's one of those songs that just came really easy. Sometimes when you're writing music and sometimes you're really struggling, Mind's Eye what took forever. We were like, God, we rearranged it 20 different times before we were happy with it. But Beyond Vision was just like, it just came together really effortlessly, and the words did. It just, it was just one of those dream songs that just kind of.
Sometimes it's model rocket, sometimes it's actual rocket science.
Yeah, totally.
Did you have it as the album title before this one came out?
No, we didn't. We didn't come up with the album title until after, we were like thinking, what could we name it? And Jason Landry was like, I think we should name it Beyond Vision. I think we should name it that. And because that was kind of like the whole theme of the record, like when you get back from your journey, what you thought it was and what it actually was isn't always the same. Sometimes you think you're going on this, you think this is going to happen, and then it ends up it doesn't. So, Beyond Vision is like, more of the heavy duty aspect of like, you don't know. You don't really know. You don't really know what's going to. Exactly.
You thought.
Exactly. What you thought and what happened isn't always the same.
Different things. So the last song, Color Trails.
Color Trails, yeah. So Color Trails was always going to be the last song. It was a perfect last song. It's just kind of like the epic, splash down from the lunar module. What are they? The LEM, the lunar, whatever the heck it's called. Can't remember the 3 words for it, but it's like something lunar module. But, or Apollo 11, where it takes off from the main rocket and it splashes down into the water, and it's very kind of
lunar excursion module was what the Apollo lunar module.
Exactly. So anybody into space knows, like, it's pretty crazy when in that thing. It's like tiny, and
Yeah.
you're like splashing down in the water, and you're shaking it, and then you land, and all of a sudden it's just like, you're in the water, and it's all calm and floating around, and that's what the song reminds me of. Um,
I can
and
see that.
Jason really, like, he put his own spin on the drums, channeling his inner neurosis, tribal drum and
Yeah.
drumming, and it's so perfect. Like, it kind of it really, like, to me, it really, I feel the entire journey from, like, dismantling from the spaceship, like, okay, we're gonna go, starting out, mellow, to the frenetic part, to, like, the soft landing at the end, or, yeah, it's an awesome, I love that song.
It
It's
does
another
very
one.
much feel like it does feel like a terminus. Like it does feel like, okay, this is, you're not playing anything after this. Like you can flip the record over and you can start over, but
Yeah.
there's nothing
To
after
me,
this.
it's the end. It's the end. You couldn't put
Yeah,
that song
this is
anywhere
it.
else on the record. It would, like, that would be a weird song to have number at the first song. Yeah.
Yeah, you start off with that one, like, what is happening? What is this? Is just
Exactly.
going ham.
Yeah, yeah. So it was like, to me, there was some, like, discussion of, oh, should we put this here, should put this there, but for the most part, it was pretty easy to determine. We had to decide where Beyond Vision was going to go, because that was like, okay, it has to be in the middle somewhere. It has to be 3/4 in, because this is
Yeah.
the end and this is the beginning. But yeah. No
Pacing
dispute on
and
that one.
sequencing is
Yeah.
it's a skill and an art in and of itself.
Oh, it
Beyond.
totally is. You have to think about, the listener, and if I had to do it all over again with Busse Woods, I would redo it differently, than I did. Yeah, because Electric Machines, like, right out of the gate, and back in the day, everybody said your best song should be first.
Gotta
Best
do
song,
it immediately. Yeah.
yeah, so that's what I did, and now I don't
Yeah.
think I would do that. I would do what felt right to me versus what
Right.
somebody told me I think I
But
should
that's
do.
also, you've made a lot more records since then too, and
Yeah.
you have sometimes there's like trench warfare decisions that are made too, where you're like, all right, fine, if that's what we're doing, that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a bad place for it, but I see what you mean, that like you could have maybe gave the record a little more nuance by starting off a little
I think Busse
li-
Woods instrumental would have been a good start off. That's kind
that's
of
a
like,
great perfect, and then you can
yeah,
put it second, and then there you go, and then you got a hard banger hit, so there you go. The terminally impatient, maybe temporarily annoyed, but
yeah.
you get there. It's fine. Fantastic. So this is Beyond Vision, Blues Funeral Recordings. Lori, what's the best place for folks to get it? I know you have a Bandcamp page. Should they be going?
Yeah,
to the record
Bandcamp. Yeah, it's on Bandcamp. You can buy it there. You can pre-order it. You can go to the Blues Funeral Recordings. It's called Blues Funeral Recordings, and buy it there. So those are two things. It's pretty easy. It's coming out March 24th. And
when you listen to this, it may be already out or it may be coming out. Well,
yeah, totally. When is this coming out?
it's time travel for the patrons late, but most people will hear it in a week or so, and then who knows? People will talk to me about shows I did 3 years ago, and I'd be like, "What? What are you talking about?" And I'd be like, "Oh, it was this episode?" I'm like, "Oh, okay, well, that was 3 years ago." For
Episode,
me.
yes.
It's like time travel in the most weird and mundane way possible, but kind of cool in a way too. A few things from the chat. First, giving you props for your guitar tone. That's a comment rather than a question. Off topic, but it is a great guitar tone. Just curious, favorite scene in Billy Jack? That's a very specific off topic question. Okay, favorite scene in Billy Jack.
Yeah, well,
I haven't thought
man,
about
of
Billy
course,
Jack in years. Jesus.
when he takes his boot off, of course, and he's gonna, like, and he's like, I'm gonna take this foot and I'm gonna put it right there, and there's not a damn thing you're gonna be able to do about it. I mean, pretty much that's the scene. Yeah.
That's pretty much the base of the movie. Yeah, I guess once we stop and think about it, sure. Yeah, cool. So this is so Laurie, it's been so great talking to you. Thanks so much for doing it. It's been great having you on the show. I've actually wanted to have you on for a really long time, and it just never worked out. So the fact that we were able to, when you have a new record, knowing how infrequent it is that you have a new record.
Yeah, this is awesome
really,
timing.
Really
good timing.
I really appreciate it, and I think that I really appreciate your time for this. And I think this is a bold record for you. This is a different. I think people that like Acid King will dig this record, but it's you're doing some different stuff on here, and I like that. And that's especially for a band that has such a deep catalog. It's nice to hear.
Thank you. Yeah, I feel like it sounds like a little different. Well, it sounds probably, but it still sounds like Acid King. It's not like it's a big leap forward, but not like, what the hell is this? Like Neil Young's country record or something, you know? It's not
right.
You know,
no one expected a ska record. Weird.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so, you know, it is different. But I love it, man. Yeah, I'm super.
So last
super
thing,
psyched about it.
Last thing, Laurie, it's the only canned question I ever ask. You can choose to interpret this however you like, but why do you do what you do?
Wow. Why do I do it? Is it because I've been doing it for so long? I enjoy the creative process. I enjoy writing music. I enjoy collaborating with people. I love, I like touring, believe it or not. I actually like touring, which some people do not.
No, you're right.
Yeah, I just do. I like the whole, I like the whole thing, the whole package. So it's not just one answer. I think there's a lot of different things, you know, this connection to the people. Yeah, it's just, I really enjoy it. It's just something, I'm a lifer, I guess. I've been doing this for a long time, and I guess I'll continue to do it until I'll continue to do it. You know, people ask me how long, you know, will you see Acid King going? Well, Acid King's me and whoever wants to play with me, right? So it will go along until I say I don't want to do it anymore, until I tell myself we're done, you know.
What are you going to do, pivot to crypto? Yeah, I mean, like it's what you do, right?
I'll quit my own band. Yeah. Quit myself.
Yeah. It's quite the fallout.
Yeah, totally.
Well, I, for one, am very glad that you do. And I'm very excited there's a new Acid King record to listen to. I think you have, I don't know if there's anything that you want to announce yet. I've got some things coming up. But people can just go to, I think you got the shows on the camp website and things along those lines. And I'll put all the links.
I've got on my website, on the Acid King website, which is just acidking.com, which I can't believe I have. So thank you to my friend Leaf, who used to run my website a long time ago, for noticing that Acid King, somebody had it, and then they somehow didn't pay for their you know,
they were too high to pay for their
license it, so we grabbed it. So all the dates are on there. But you know, yeah, if you're in San Francisco on June 3rd, that will be the one you want to go to.
It's a good one.
We'll be playing at the Great American Music Hall. Jason Landry will be joining us, so it'll be all four of us, and we'll be playing the entire record from beginning to end, including the song that most people will not have.
Only the true heads.
Yeah.
Only the marriage aspirants for
exactly.
Have gotten that in the dowry. They got in the dowry, actually. As well.
Yeah. The vinyl junkies.
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it, and appreciate you, and take care, and best luck with the record and all the touring, and it's nice to have another Ask King record, so thank you for that.
Thank you so much.
Take care.
All right. You too.
Oh, there she goes. That's Lori. That's Acid King. Let's hear a song from the record. Actually, I think we're gonna go with it. We're gonna go with the title track. I quite dig that one. So we're gonna hear some Beyond Vision here, and then we'll close it on out. Beyond Vision. Title track. That's on the new record called Beyond Vision. You can get that at bluesfuneral.com, acidking.bandcamp.com if you feel so inclined. They are doing a big, again, as Laurie said, if you're in San Francisco, you can, there's going to be a big, epic blowout Great American Music Hall show. And that's pretty cool. Love Great American Music Hall. Miss that place. So, yeah, as mentioned, bluesfuneral.com, acidking.bandcamp.com. Thank Lori for spending so much time with me, going deep on all those great Acid King records. I wonder where that t-shirt went. I think I had that shirt for a long time. I had that shirt for like 20 years. I don't know where it went. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Name of the show is Conan Neutron's Protonic Reversal. Thank you ever so very much for listening to it. The show airs Thursdays, 8 Eastern, 7 Central, 6 Mountain, 5 Pacific. YouTube, Twitch, for a little while longer, radionope.com. Archives of the show are available for free, protonicreversal.com. Always free, no ads, no sponsors, no kidding. But if you like the show and you want to get episodes sooner, $1 a month at patreon.com/protonicreversal will achieve that very achievable goal. If you enjoy the show and want to share it along, subscribe in the various places that you do that at, post a review. That all helps fight the almighty algorithm. And it's just a darn nice thing to do. Either way, thank you so much for paying attention, listening. It's always appreciated.
50,000 watts of power.
Coming up on 9 years of this show next month. Can you believe it? God dang. Some great stuff coming up. Please stay tuned. Keep that browser/podcast app, whatever you're listening to it on, computer, phone, tuned.
Turn sound into electricity.
Stay safe out there.
Can you hear me now?
Check you later.
Out on Route 128, dark and lonely. I got my radio on. Can you hear me now? 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 See you on the radio. And that snare drum and that drum roll means we've got a winner. If you're the fifth caller, or any caller at all, welcome to my top 10. I'd like to thank our sponsor. But we haven't got a sponsor. Not if you were the last man on earth. She was prepared to prove it. This one goes out to a special girl. There is no special girl. It's the end of radio. The last announcer plays the last record. The last what? Leaves the transmitter. Circles the globe in search of a listener. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Is it really broadcasting if there's no one there to receive? It's the end of radio. As we come to the close of our broadcast day, got my radio on.